Welcome to the weekly trading signals. I'd like to start the session by giving you some information about me. My name is Ihab Jubil. I was born and raised in Egypt. I have a passion for financial trading as well as teaching. I have been trading for a number of years, mainly on Forex and commodities, and in recent years, I have also set up my own trading robots, signals, and website. I host online webinars and seminars on investment and financial trading regularly, and I provide my service to subscribers worldwide. Now, let's start the session. Only three tradable economic news that we will be looking at this week. On Tuesday, 12th of May at 12 p.m. UK Bank of England interest rate. At 11:45, New Zealand retail sales quarterly release. On Friday, at 1:30 p.m. US core retail sales. Before I show you how to trade the news, let's take a few examples of last week, and I will show you how the market reacted to the news and the best way to trade this news. Australian RBA interest rate decision that was released on May 3rd. It was forecasted at 2%, and our deviation factor was 0.25%. My recommendation was to make rise option at 2.25% and full option at 1.75%. Actual release was at 1.75%, so our deviation factor is hit. So we had to wait to see the reaction of the market. The market moved then 40 pips within first 15 minutes after the news release. And actually, we had also the support line was broken. So we all we have to do is to enter the market immediately or after decent retracement. And you can see the reaction of the market. The market kept moving downwards. So if you place the trade recommended, it would have been a win trade. U.S. non-farm payroll employment was released on May 6. It was forecasted at 206,000. Previous release was 215. My recommendation was to make rise option at 276,000 and full option at 136,000. The actual release was 160,000, so it was in between release. Our deviation factor was not hit. We did not reach 270,000 or more, or 136,000 or less. So in this case, my recommendation was to follow the pre-release market condition and sentiment and expect the market to move within support and resistance range. And that's what happened. The market just touched the support level 2 or 3 days before the actual release. So the market moved within the range upward. Again, with this news, if you placed the trade recommended, it would have been a win trade. Now the first event we will be looking at this week. UK Bank of England interest rate that will be released on May 12 at 12 p.m. London time. UK interest rate decision will once again remain unchanged and highly unlikely a surprise, as most analysts are not expecting any policy changes before the pre-exit referendum in June. Therefore, in the event of a surprise, we should see a lot of volatility. It's forecasted at 0.5% as previous release. Actually, there is no change in the interest rate since 2009. How to trade this news? In the extremely unlikely event, the Bank of England hikes rate to 0.75%, we should consider making rise option at the pound immediately. Because of the level of surprise, I think you will see a strong trend change for the pound in the next few weeks upward. On the other hand, or other scenario, if we get a surprise increase to 400 billion or more in the EPT, EPT is better known as quantitative easing, it would send a bearish signal to the market and we should make full option on the pound in short term to the maximum to the end of the week. Third scenario is if Bank of England cuts rate to 0.25%, and in this case, we should consider making full option on the pound. So we should consider making rise option on the pound if we get plus 0.75% rate and full option at 400 billion EPT or 0.25% rate. Remember to draw the support and the resistance levels before the news release. If the market breaks through these levels, this means you have a better opportunity at winning the trade. We have here a chart of the pound yen daily chart, but you have to redraw on your chart that you are going to trade on it. The support and resistance levels immediately just before the news being released. So in case if we get 0.75% rate or 400 billion EPT or 0.25% rate, we have to wait to see the market reaction. If the market doesn't react to the news by at least 50 pips, we should not enter the market or making any trade. But in case if we don't get any change, expect the market to follow the pre-release market condition and sentiment and expect the market to move within the resistance and support range. So in this case, if we can imagine that the news is released just now and there is no change, and the market, as you can see today, it touches the support line. So I will consider making rise option because I expect the market to keep moving upwards between these two lines. New Zealand retail sales quarterly release will be released on May 12 at 11:45 p.m. London time. New Zealand retail sales release is quarterly release. Therefore, we are more likely to see surprises in this type of release and the high volatility. It's forecasted at 1%. Previous release was at 1.2%. How to trade this news? New Zealand retail sales release is the measurement of consumer spending in the retail sector, as it reflects the strength of the economy and the strength of the consumer spending. Will be looking for a difference or the deviation of at least 0.5% from the forecasted number. Therefore, a positive 1.5% or better will be bullish signal for the New Zealand dollar, and we should consider making rise option. And 0.5% or worse will be bearish signal for the New Zealand dollar. Remember, as usual, to draw the support and resistance levels before the news release. In this chart, New Zealand dollar daily chart, resistance and support levels. We will use the retracement trading method to trade this news in case if we get our deviation factor. If we get 1.5% or more or 0.5% or less, we'll use this method. We will wait to get these numbers and wait for market to move with momentum first, to see the first reaction first spike, and wait for a decent retracement before entering the market. But if the market doesn't react to the news by at least 40 pips within first 15 minutes, we should not enter the market or make any trade. But if you get in between numbers, if we don't get the deviation number, we get number between 1.5 and 0.5, expect the market to follow the pre-release market condition and sentiment, and expect the market to move within the resistance and support range. And the chart, we can see it already broke the support level. So in case if we get number between 1.5 and 0.5, I expect the market to keep moving downwards. US core retail sales that will be released on 13 of May at 1:30 p.m. It's usually a well-traded report, and we should see plenty of volatility if we get our tradable deviation. And because retail sales is highly correlated with non-farm payroll report, I would be expecting a worse than expected number. It's forecasted at 0.6%, previous release at 0.2%. How to trade this news? The plan to trade this release is straightforward. We are going to wait for 1.1% of release or better to make rise option on the US dollar, or 0.1% or worse to make full option on the US dollar. If we get in between release between 0.1 and 1.1, we will need to look at the pre-release market condition and sentiment market trend, and to look at the support and the resistance levels. We will trade this news release using After news retracement method, I will pay attention to both headline and core retail figures, but my focus will be on the core figure. So remember to draw support and resistance levels before the news release. If our deviation factor is hit, if the market doesn't react to the news by at least 30 pips within 15 minutes after the news release time, we should not enter the market. And if we don't get the deviation number, we get in between number, expect the market to follow the pre-release market condition and sentiment, and the market expect the market to move within the range of support and resistance. You can visit my website for more information as well as my free trading signals at my website ehabjubail.com. We have now come to the end of the session. I hope you found it useful. Goodbye and see you next time.